Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the main event. You have with me, Daniel.
And Aaron.
Aaron, we're back here for part 2 of this match preview for match day 2 of the Champions League UCL fantasy game. We've already previewed the Tuesday games, so if you want to go back and watch that, if you haven't already, we do recommend it. That one will be significantly longer than this one, as we really need to highlight as many Tuesday game players as possible. Today, we're going to focus on the Wednesday fixtures. So there'll be less to talk about, less to try and highlight. We will keep in theme with the last time, though, and that is discussing limitless wildcard players and wildcard players. On the previous episode as well, we did sort of touch on at the very end. It's the very last thing was said, if you want to go back and watch that, on how to structure a limitless wildcard. We didn't go into too much detail because it's pretty obvious, really. But that being said, we'll move on nice and swiftly, Aaron, into the first game. So if you haven't watched the Tuesday night one, like I say, go back and watch that. But if you want to watch this one first, the way that we do this is we talk about the 1745 game, complete the group, talk about the other 1745 game, complete the group, and then do the other two groups. So the first group we want to talk about, because we want to start off with a nice Plazenia, is Antwerp versus Shakhtar, 1745 on a limitless Plazenia, yes?
Yeah, I'm not even watching this match.
Yeah, I think if you want on a wild card that Riznik guy in goal, if you want him for 4 million, move on. Porto v Barca. Galeno, one of those.
I think he's going to go down in UCL history as one of our, not as one of our picks, even though we said, because we didn't pick him.
We didn't actually pick him. We told other people to pick him.
And they thanked us.
I'd love it if we could thank ourselves, Aaron. But you only pick 5 players. Going for him? Do you reckon he's a pick against Barca? Barca, last time I checked, were losing 1-0 against Mallorca.
The good news about him will be that he'll probably get a price rise.
Yes.
So by how much, we don't know yet, because price rises work a little bit differently on the game if you are new to playing, where it won't happen until after the following match day. So you don't have to make early transfers. So you don't have to worry about him going up before the deadline. It'll happen before match day 3. So that is a positive, but I don't think you'll be able to move to anyone significant just yet unless he scores again this match day, in which he'll probably get I think the maximum they can go up to is a 0.2 increase or a 0.3 increase, isn't it?
I honestly don't know. I've never seen anyone go up a 0.3 increase. I think 2 is the biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah, probably 2 is the biggest.
Yeah. The just to clarify, currently, time of recording, Barcelona are drawing 2-2 to Mallorca. I did notice earlier on, though, they are playing a weakened team. Lewandowski didn't start. He's now came off the bench. Not that he's done anything. Joao Felix, who's another player that we're probably going to talk about for Barcelona, been taken off, didn't play very well. But they've played around with the defence. Christensen, Koundé on starting. So it's one of those that you take out your 2 centre-backs, you're probably not going to do so well, especially defensively. Taremi for Porto, we sort of brushed him off. He's since returned to goal-scoring form. I think now that those rumours, I think it was maybe you called it. I think it was you that called it. He was sort of pandering for a move, spit his dummy out a little bit, and now that moves off, it looks like he's getting himself going again. So maybe not the best week to pick Taremi, but moving forward for the next fixtures, I think he could be a very, very good wildcard pick. Any more thoughts on Porto?
I do think that Porto, they are a solid team at home. If you go back historically, they very rarely lose at home in the Champions League. So it's normally their away form that really lets them down. So against a Barcelona side where we're not quite sure, I don't think there's any teams really in La Liga that's really taken it and started the season really, really strongly. But Porto very rarely lose at home, and if they do, it is a very close match. My biggest fear is which Barcelona assets do potentially get upset. So Cancelo, I think a lot of people have him because of the first match day. People might keep him because of his goal scoring form in the league. Will he get anything against Porto? I think that's kind of a question that I've been thinking about. Or if I am not playing a chip currently, Cancelo is one of my transfers out, potentially to Hakimi.
I mean, we can talk about him later. I get it. I do get it. I think that I don't disagree. I think Porto are quite tough at home. At the same time, they're not playing that lot every week, are they? Like Barcelona are a much better team. They're going to keep the ball more, and I can see Barcelona keeping a clean sheet. Like I think if I've got to go somewhere for a clean, like that's what we need to start discussing actually, because we need a second-day goalkeeper, and it's kind of like where's the clean sheet coming from on this day? And it might be from Porto or Barca. It might be. Hear me out on this. It might be Diogo Costa saving Lewandowski's penalty.
I would love it because I didn't go Lewandowski last match day and survived.
Yes.
So if that happens again, I would be very happy.
I don't think Lewandowski's gonna. This isn't his. It's not a great fixture, but especially against Diogo Costa, that's quite scary. That because obviously we all know what that maniac can do. I don't know how I feel about this fixture. Obviously, the main picks, yeah, I agree. It's Cancelo, Felix, and Lever. I think Joao Felix has had his moment in the sun, but he is going up against his old rivals. And Porto, obviously, he's a Benfica lad. He's played in the
Back to Portugal.
League. Back to Portugal.
Cancelo's back to Portugal.
Yeah, he's an old Benfica boy as well, isn't he? Obviously, he's Sporting.
I would be making it up. I can check.
Have a check. Might be in Sporting. But yeah, like a couple of narratives in there. It's going to be difficult. That's why I just think maybe to Stegen. Benfica was Benfica. God, I knew it was Lisbon somewhere. It's a bit rough. Like Lewandowski, but I don't think I'll be picking Lewandowski. I think I'll be going. There's another fixture that I think is quite nice in terms of goals, so I'll likely go there. But it's hard. This Wednesday is truly awful. Like it's rubbish fixtures, and who knows? Maybe those people that aren't limitless wildcarding are correct because you can really, really like go in on the buying and Arsenal assets, and I kind of just feel like I wish I'd just done that on match day one. Taking Sané and Kane out my team is the worst decision I've made because I could actually quite feasibly just keep my team and then just use my 2 free transfers to bring in 2 Arsenal players and just wash my hands clean of it. Maybe like probably bring in Jesus for Mbappe and then upgrade my Galatasaray kid to Odegaard because I don't know if Saka's going to be fit. Like I could have just done that, and I'm really annoyed at myself. But now with 4, I need 4 transfers to get those 4 players in. Is it worth a -8? Maybe it is. But no, not when you've got a limitless. I just think it's probably best that I do it.
The only reason I would say it potentially would be a -8 is depending on how fruitful the limitless comes later in the tournament.
And that's it. But I don't think it's going to be that fruitful. Like, I think, who knows? I might have to look at these match day 3 and 4s. But the match day 3 and 4, like, because of the same fixtures, you just want the same team. So I need to look at how my team is now for match day 3 and 4, which I think it's actually all right. But the limitless could just be used as a get out of jail free card at times. The issue is, are the early fixtures in match day 5, we discussed on the last pod, are dreadful in terms of understanding who is going to play. If we look through in terms of limitless, where you want to be safe, match day 3, you've got Bayern and Inter, which is good. But obviously, this also applies to a wild card. And then on match day 4, you've got Barcelona, Dortmund, and Newcastle. It's fine. Match day 5, what awful. Match day 6, what PSV, Arsenal, Lens, and Sevilla. I've just obviously looked at the Tuesdays because they're what really matter. Like, obviously, yeah, fair enough. Man City are on the Wednesday there. Like, match day 3, let's have a look at the Wednesday early fixtures. Barcelona, Shakhtar, Feyenoord versus Lazio. I'm so undecided. I've got no idea what I'm meant to do.
We have a week to decide.
No, Aaron, I've got to decide now. I've got until Thursday to decide before Ed asks me what my team is, and I've got to panic.
Oh yeah,
Got
we have team reveals, don't we?
Yeah, oh god. I'm just if you hear me on our podcast on Thursday for a team reveal, I'm lying. I'm just outright lying to every single one of you. I've got no idea what I'm going to do. We'll move on, though. That's enough of that nonsense. Oh, Antwerp Shakhtar, what's the score going to be?
I don't even care.
I'm going 2-1 Shakhtar.
I'll go Antwerp 1-0.
Oh, yeah, against Ukraine, are you? Shock.
Putin.
Your Putin haircut. Want Antwerp to win? You make me sick. Porto v Barca, what's the score going to be?
1-1.
Not a bad. Yeah, you know what? That's a good shout. 1-1. We'll get on to the other early fixture. Atletico Madrid versus Feyenoord. Don't worry, we are going to Plazania the other game, I think. Atletico versus Feyenoord. Atletico Madrid beat Real Madrid 3-1 at the weekend. Bit of a smash and grab by all accounts, but who cares? I think in terms of limitless for this game, there are 3 outstanding options for me personally. Alvaro Morata got a brace. Antoine Griezmann, 10.5 million on the game. Probably the better Champions League.
It'd be the only time you would be able to get him in your team, I think.
And he's very good. He got a goal at the weekend. And Molina, 6 million fullback. He's very capable. He didn't have a great game against Real Madrid, but that's fine. It's Real Madrid. Like they still have good individual players that can turn you inside out. Up against Feyenoord, and Feyenoord are away to Atletico Madrid. And I love Feyenoord, how they played this season so far. They've been so exciting, but they do concede. And that's all that really matters. Like, they concede goals. They will likely score goals. So I don't know why I'm recommending Molina. Attack and returns. Stengs is the clear and obvious option with Jimenez, I believe, still suspended. I think it was a 2-game suspension in Europe. So he's still suspended for this one. So don't go there. And that's where I sort of fancy Atletico Madrid a little bit more. Obviously, Feyenoord can't play Celtic every week. And it's not the Eredivisie. I know that Ajax are falling apart at the minute, but I just think Atletico Madrid at home will be too much for Feyenoord. Do you think any differently? Do you have any other picks?
No, I think a lot of people have the 4.5 midfielder option, who I could not pronounce his name.
Ivanovic.
But he got injured, so it'd be interesting to see if he's fit. But I think Atletico, where he got taken off with an injury.
Ivanovic. I've got him in my team.
Yeah. And so for the people who don't play chip, or at least wild card, is he going to be an option? Because he is such a cheap player for an attacking team when he has some really good fixtures moving on from this one. I mean, he still is a shout to help be able to get some more premiums in your team. But I think in terms of Atletico Madrid, I do think that they're going to have a pretty good, solid performance. And I think just the defenders that we mentioned, kind of any of their centre-backs, with the way that they're priced, I think they're all 5 million, while other teams are like 5.5 onwards. I think they're good, because I think in match day 3 they play on the Wednesday as well. And so that's 2 days in a row where you can bring them on as a cheaper option to just try and get 4+ points.
Yeah, I think limitless you go Molina. I think if you're on a normal wild card, I genuinely do think you should bring in Savic, for example. Or I think Hermoso's a bit more expensive. I think he's 5.5, but Savic is 5. Because Feyenoord at home, which is the important distinction, because I think it's going to be much more difficult for them to keep a clean sheet away from home. And then 2 games against Celtic. So yeah, I think you should be if you're on a wild card, I think, or just a regular transfer. I think an Atletico Madrid defender is a good shout at some point. Next game, Celtic v Lazio. Talk about Lazio. You have 90 seconds.
So Lazio, they drew 1-1 with Monza, drew 1-1 with Atletico Madrid, Juventus 3-1, Napoli, they beat 2-1, but we've covered them in the last pod. So they've scored in every game. They will score against Celtic, but they've also conceded in every game as well. So defensive options out the window.
Unless it's the goalkeeper.
But they are not scoring very many. I would say that Immobile is probably their best shout, but I would say look at the result of the Milan match on the weekend to have an indicator on how they're going to play.
Yeah, I mean, the keeper still only got 9 points, and even though he scored a goal, that's wild, that, isn't it?
That whole thing was just crazy.
Like, that's such a like keeper should get a lot of points for scoring. I think 10 points, 9 points, or even if like
that 30k that you were talking about in the last.
Even if you keep like going up, yeah, that's how Hattie from the keeper, pen taker. A defender 6 points, at least make the goalkeeper 7. Great run, such a good run, because that was the same night as we played. So I remember me and Ed were in a restaurant in Milan having some food, and we're just talking to the waiters and stuff like that, and they came over and talking to us about Newcastle and Tonali, because everyone still loves them. And then we're like, "Oh, have you seen the Lazio game?" And we're like, "No, what's happened?" And then show them like, "Oh my god, that's crazy! How good was that run? That was like a proper striker's run."
Apparently, he used to play striker for the youth teams.
You can see that was a striker's run. Well played, Providel. I'm still not going for you. Oh, am I? Could he be?
No.
Could Oblak be goalkeeper against Feyenoord?
No, I think Feyenoord are too attacking. I don't know. I literally just said get a defender in. I hate this game.
I hate this. I hate what it makes us. What's the score going to be? Atletico Madrid versus Feyenoord.
Can you go first this time?
Oh, I've got to go first, have I? I think it's going to be... horrible, this. 2...
We don't even remember the scores once we've given them.
This means nothing, but I find it. I'm taking it seriously. 2-something.
Put your house on it. 2-something.
Who gives a shit? 2-1.
Okay.
But to who?
I was going to say if you had both teams scoring, I'll back the clean sheet then. Get all black in your team.
1-0.
1-0.
Celtic v Lazio?
Lazio 2-1.
I'm going to go Celtic 2-1.
Ooh. Furuhashi versus Immobile.
Yes. I think he's going to get 1. I think someone else will get the other. Furuhashi will get 1. Onwards for March. So, the group of death, Aaron. Platoon versus PSG. At home. I've got a ticket for the game, so I'm not allowed to pick Hakimi as much as my brain cells say you probably should. We'll start with Newcastle assets because they are at home. I don't know what to do because I think there's an expectation now at home versus away. I think we didn't really have too much expectation away at Milan. PSG have some legitimately like world-class players, in my opinion. They aren't, I was about to say they aren't playing great. They won 4-0 at the last game. But prior to that, they're not top of the French league, I don't believe. And prior to that, they've not been playing well. They've been conceding a lot of goals. Hakimi did score at the weekend. Mawani got a goal and an assist. Gonçalo Ramos got a couple of goals. He came on for an injured Mbappe. So it looks like he was sort of playing off the left, Mawani through the middle. They were swapping around a bit. And Dembele is on the right. I think that is a key thing. We like to joke about it, but Dembele versus Dan Burn. Because it's not people have said
I don't think it's just that. I think it's the double up of Dembele and Hakimi against Dan Burn.
Oh, we need to pick them both, man.
Because Hakimi is like a Dumfries where he'll spend most of the time in the attacking third.
Dan Burn's going to get ripped to shreds in that game, mate. He was terrible defensively against Milan.
But in the first half, I thought he did better in the second.
He did do better in the second. But in the first half, it was like maybe a 2 out of 10. And I've seen people going, oh, because he wasn't good on the ball, but defensively, no, defensively, it was shocking.
And Botman bailed him out so many times.
He's positioning. It's like he'd never played football before. He's positioning. It was just, what is happening here? And on the ball, he was terrible, but off it, he was awful. And the amount of times Kieran Trippier had to clear something off the back post because Botman had to slide across, which dragged Shaw across, which he had to then come in, playing with fire in that first half. And that was against Chukwueze, who doesn't even start for Milan very often. It's been Pulisic on that side. So Dembele is a sick note, and he's not been playing great, but he's good enough. If he's better than Chukwueze, and Hakimi is better going forward than Calabria and better going forward than Florenzi. Although I do rate Florenzi, I think he's a very good fullback. That's petrifying.
And the thing is, even if Dembele doesn't play, it's going to be Mawani, who is still very quick.
Yeah, but Mawani's probably going to play up front or off one of the wings.
It'll probably be Ramos up front, wouldn't it?
Well, when they won 4-0, so it was Mbappe, Mawani, Dembele, I believe, was the front three. And then when Mbappe got injured, Ramos came on for Mbappe. So whoever Mawani would be on the left either way if he was to play on the wing and Ramos up front. That would make more sense to me personally, just with the profiles of the players.
But I'm sure Mawani was on the right when he did that assist to Gonçalo Ramos, because people are talking about how quick he is.
They might have just been very, very fluid.
Because Dembele can use both feet, like elite level.
I'm just not sure.
I think regardless, Dan Burn is going to be facing a pacey winger, and
we know how that goes.
We know that he can be exposed, but it's the double up Hakimi that is scary. I think Trippier will be able to handle.
I agree.
Hernandez and whoever plays on the left.
We do have another game, obviously, before to see how they line up properly, to see where they are playing. But that's a frightening team.
If Mbappe plays, I think this fixture changes dramatically.
Yeah, if we get a sniff that Mbappe is fit, it just has to be in your team. Like I don't like to say it. Like, we just battered Sheffield United at the weekend. We probably could have been 1 or 2-0 down in the first 10 minutes. But thankfully, by the grace of God, it fell to Luke Thomas.
Yeah.
Who was not a natural goal scorer. Then, obviously, Anthony Gordon comes on, completely changes the game for us. And from that moment, it was just a one-way train. Beautiful to watch.
It was my daughter's birthday as well.
Was it? Oh, happy birthday.
So that was a great present from Newcastle. So thank you.
It was a Jency's birthday.
Amelia's
birthday. So I think if those chances fall to Kylian Mbappe, it's good night, sweetheart. And that's what I'm scared. We can't start slowly. The chances we conceded to AC Milan, PSG score. And that's it. End of story. Just end of. So I've got written down my list: Mawani, Hakimi, Mbappe, ? Ramos and Dembele. I wouldn't bother with any of the others because I do think we can score against them. I'm not even saying like we'll lose, but I think they can score 2 or 3 quite comfortably. It's just we're going to have to score 3 or 4.
I think the biggest question: who is going to score Newcastle's first Champions League goal? I think it's going to be someone like obscure, like Longstaff. To be fair, Longstaff has been playing really well.
He's played really
he
well.
He was on my bench in FPL.
He had a bit of a rust off when he was playing off the bench, but he's came in, and I again thought second half at Milan he was outstanding. And he was really good against Brentford, and he was fantastic against Sheffield United, as they all were. Had a bit of a shaky one first half against AC Milan, but I honestly, I can't blame him. I was absolutely exhausted watching the game, let alone what he must have been feeling. So the fact that he even managed to pull it around for the second half, spot on. Good lads. I think it'll be very different at home because I think we're going to be very front foot. I think what will likely happen is, genuinely, I think we'll go a couple of goals up and they'll get a couple of goals back. And this is going to be a classic 3-3. I'm giving away my, what I think. I think this will be like a 3-3. We'll toss away a 2 or 3-0 lead, genuinely. I don't think we'll know what to do. I just think we don't know what to do, and then we're going to allow Hakimi.
Everyone will be like that, even in the stadium. You'll be like, I don't know what to do.
We're going to allow Hakimi and Dembele to DP Dan Burn, and it's just gonna be frightening. We're going to back off and back off and back off. So yeah, I think if you want Newcastle assets, I think Anthony Gordon, 5.5 million, probably not on the limitless, but if you're going on a wild card, shoe in 5.5 million midfield. He's probably the best at that price point.
He's better than Tchouaméni.
Yes, he's much better than Tchouaméni. Isak, is he going to start, Aaron?
I think that Isak is the starting. Him, Gordon, and who played on the
Murphy?
right? Yeah, I think that's going to be our front three in the Champions League.
The thing is, I think we might see a swap round, and the reason is just because maybe Jacob Murphy gets played on that left to help with Hakimi, because you don't want Anthony Gordon.
It's a shame about Barnes' injury.
Yeah, but I think we might have to change it up a little bit because they're less dangerous down their left side defensively. With Luca Hernandez. Like, he's not a very attacking. He's very dangerous from set pieces, but he's not.
5 million. He's a tempting player.
Not in this game. Not in this group. Not with how many goals PSG concede. I know they kept a clean sheet the weekend, so what? But the
and you don't have Hakimi in for clean sheets.
Yeah, and you don't have Hakimi in for clean. You have an Hakimi in because he's going to get a goal and an assist. That's why you got Hakimi in. Yeah. He's got a worldie for free kick as well. But yeah, I think Gordon and Isak are our probably players to target. I don't think this is the game to be getting in Newcastle defenders at all. I think if you want a Newcastle defender, you just wait for the Dortmund games if you're desperate.
The only way I'm looking at this is especially because it's a Wednesday fixture, is that Botman probably gets you 4 or 5 ball recoveries, having to clean up from Dan Burn.
That's 1 point versus the -1 or 2 we could get.
Yeah,
but yeah, you are right. Ball recoveries, yeah, I agree. Or Nick Pope save points.
Yeah, I don't think he's the best second Dave goalkeeper though.
Yeah, not against PSG. We're getting cancelled from the show after that damning. What do you think the score is going to be? Actually,
3-1 PSG.
Oh, come on, Aaron.
I'm really hoping this after grade and curse this fixture
doesn't count when you say it.
The last time I grade and cursed Newcastle, I said I think Aston Villa are going to beat us.
And we won 5-1. Cheers.
Yes.
Dortmund v Milan, the other game of the group. Bit of an odd one, this.
You wouldn't have watched the Dortmund PSG match because obviously you were at the stadium.
Yes, I didn't. I didn't watch any of the other games. I basically watched highlights. That's all I could watch for either of the days, because obviously Tuesday I was half cut in the San Siro, and on the Wednesday I was traveling back all day. It was a full day job.
So Dortmund looked the better team in the first bit. PSG really struggled. It took that penalty decision, which was controversial, but as an Mbappe owner, I didn't care. It matched the Lewandowski points. Mbappe could have scored a few more, but when he's always that threat. Hakimi, great haul. I just think Dortmund are in danger of being a team where what's the kind of saying where all bark no bite.
Yeah.
I think that they'll create a ton of opportunities, but it is just going to be their home form and the home atmosphere that was potentially going to help them out, especially against Milan and Newcastle. But it's just I'm looking at the kind of Dortmund players, and there's not anybody like in kind of older teams that is like, yes, he is the danger man. I think it's a season too early for Dortmund. I think Adeyemi maybe next year starts to come into his own, because they always take a few seasons and then like the young player like a Bellingham. Well, he's an exception actually, but like a I don't know. There's too many examples.
There's too many. You can't name any of them off the
I
top of
can't
your head. I know what you mean. Jadon Sancho.
Yeah,
He wasn't
I was about to say
immediately,
Haaland, but
no, he was unbelievable from the start. But no, yeah, like a Jadon Sancho. He took
Gundogan,
yeah,
Goethe, like
Musiala. Technically,
Lewandowski.
I wouldn't say Lewandowski.
He took a few seasons before he came into his own.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Aubameyang.
How old are we going? I think the one Dortmund player that I think is exciting is Julian Brandt, because he's a midfielder. I think Marlon is because he's a forward is out. But I think Julian Brandt on the right hand side, there's a little bit of Milan news at left back that needs addressing. And if this news is true and looks accurate for next week, for next Wednesday, Julian Brandt is my dark horse pick for these Wednesday games. But do you want to talk about Milan, Aaron, saying that it's your second team?
They won on the weekend. Liao scored again. He looked very dangerous against us, to be fair, but
he did in the first half. It was rubbish in the second. He had that terrible header.
He should have.
That was awful.
Yeah.
I think he after he tried his back heel and fell over. I couldn't see what had happened there. I was like, what on earth is... I thought it was a pen or something. It's like, surely he hasn't just fallen over. Like, he must have been kicked. No, he did a David Dunn.
Can't believe it. Theo Hernandez is injured with muscle fatigue, so I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, good. Don't go Julian Brandt then.
Did he change your mind about how you feel about Theo Hernandez when you saw him play?
No. I thought he had a very good game, but he was also playing against Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy's first game of the season.
I love Jacob Murphy.
I love Jacob Murphy. I really do. Like, honestly, I've obviously got my new Newcastle top. I was thinking, do I get a name and number on the back end? My number's always number 8. I'm born on the 8th of August, 89. So I'm in the 80s as well. I've always liked number 8. And it's quite funny. I was at a wedding yesterday, and one of the lads was like, that I sat on the plane with to go to the stag do for the wedding, which would have been February, March, a while ago. He was like, oh, it's funny because you were, when we were on the plane, you said we should sign Tonali. I was like, it was you I said that to. I knew I said it to someone. It's like, I've been looking for the proof. I was like, I thought it was going crazy. So, like, speaking to him, I was like, I really like either Tonali's number or Jacob Murphy's number, because I absolutely love him. But that still doesn't mean I can't put my head in place and say Jacob Murphy isn't an effective test to gauge whether someone is the best fullback in the world or best left back in the world. That being said, Ben Chilwell's in a bit of a state. So he's dropped right down the pecking order. For me, I'd say going both ways, I'd still put DeMarco ahead of Theo Hernandez. I think DeMarco's a better defender than Theo Hernandez. And I think the gap between him and Theo's defenders is bigger than the gap between Theo going forward than DeMarco going forward. Like Theo's really good at going forward. But I think DeMarco's good enough at going forward, but is just much more defensively sound. And I think that he proved that I think he proved that in the Champions League final, whereas for me, Theo was utter garbage at the World Cup at left back as soon as he played against good teams. He was rubbish against England and he was terrible against Argentina. Whereas DeMarco's played against a treble winning one of the best teams in the world and was maybe the best player on the pitch.
That's fair. And if Newcastle had to sign one of the two,
I said DeMarco straight away. That's not me saying that I wouldn't sign Theo Hernandez, by the way.
That's what we heard.
And it's not me saying Theo Hernandez isn't top 3 left backs in the world or whatever. Like, I'm not saying he's not unbelievable at football. It's just he's been put on a pedestal, and I just disagree with him being in the number 1 spot personally. But he wasn't really challenged. He had some good runs. He didn't do loads going forward. He had a couple of really good runs, which you expect of him, but didn't have much at the end of it. But that being said, I don't think Milan's movement in the final third when he was running was really up to par.
I think you summed up AC Milan's full game there, where they didn't do anything near the end. But I think this is another draw, personally. I think Milan will struggle at Dortmund's stadium.
Do you think?
1-1 is what I'm going for.
I want it to be 1-1.
I think this will be like a Giroud type penalty goal.
I think it's going to be 2-1. I think Giroud's a great shout for this. I haven't put him in, but I think you're not going to have him over Leao.
Especially on a limitless.
And I do like Theo. No idea how to pronounce it. I saw Amanda Staveley at the airport in Heathrow on the way home. Had a little chat with her, and one of the
did you actually?
No, this is actually the truth. This is actually the truth.
Okay, because you've said that twice now, and I'm like, I thought it was just a joke.
No, yeah. So we both got dodgy passports. So as I was going through, for whatever reason, I was full delirium. I spoke to her like I was
calling her mum.
No. Funny you said that. Like I said, it must be really difficult for her watching the players play because she must feel like they're her. And then I went to say mate, and she went mum. I was like, well, I was going to say mates, but if you feel like the mum, that's fair enough. But then I know that we've been looking for a right-sided centre back, so I was like, oh, what about Milan's right-sided centre back? How good was he? She was like, yeah, he was brilliant. I was just like, can you imagine him and Botman together at the back? Never concede again. She was nodding, but then quickly turned the attention back onto the players that we have signed. She's like, oh, the new lads are going to be amazing. They're going to be brilliant, particularly likes Tino Livramento. Other takes were she adores Eddie Howe, was calling Sean Longstaff by his first name and says that she loves him. And wants Eddie to integrate the fullbacks as soon as possible. That was and then I had to leave, and she said thank you, and I said thank you, and it was very nice. But that's actually a true story, as it happens. But yeah, anyway, sorry, Milan fans. I am trying to whisper in Amanda Staveley's ear to buy his centre back because he was class. What a trip, man.
Crazy.
On BBC News with Danny Graham. I was sat next to Birmingham City's owner on the flight home. It was just weird. Great time. Thanks for the ticket again, Ed.
I didn't know Ed owned.
How do you think you got the tickets? I think it's going to be 2-1 Milan. I actually want it to be a 1-1 draw for our group, but I think it'll be 2-1. We need to move on. This is meant to be short, but obviously we're Newcastle fans. I'm sorry.
Well, we can present you one of the remaining fixtures.
Yeah, Slovenia, Zvezda versus Young Boys. Actually, no, I'd say get Elia if you want to punt. If you're a mad person and you want to punt, Elia at 6 million against Slovenia Zvezda. Because I think at home, they'll attack more. I don't think they're just going to sit back and allow like Young Boys to play like Man City did. But I think Young Boys are actually a good team. We saw that they are capable of a goal against Leipzig. So I actually think Elia's a good pick at 6 million for this game. He's very punty, but if that's what you're into. But other than that, Plazenia, bosh.
No, sounds good. Leipzig, Man City. Dan?
No, Aaron. You aren't baiting me.
Okay, I have a genuine question for you.
You know, but it's the end of the podcast now.
Who do you think hurt each other more? Do you think Lewandowski hurt me more or Haaland hurt you more?
Ooh. It's tough because Lewandowski's hurt you like twice, hasn't he? He's
2 seasons.
Yeah, fool
but
me
it was
once.
over. Haaland was one game for you. You had like a season's worth of pain in that one game.
Yeah.
Whilst Lewandowski would score like 1 or 2 goals, but it was like match day after match day after match day.
And there's one where you got a hat trick. I think Lewandowski hurt you more
than Haaland hurt
than
you.
Haaland hurt me, yeah. But the annoying thing is people always bring it up to me because it was just a vast thing on one day and it's Haaland and it's obvious and blah, blah, blah. Whereas you're right, yours was bad. Yours was way worse. But because it was staggered over weeks and weeks and weeks, seasons of punishment, I think you were hurt more by Lewandowski, but no one brings it up to you other than me. Whereas other people are like, "Oh, so like this game, what am I meant to do?" Because right, oh, I hate myself. I hate myself.
Can we? Okay, so for the audience, well done again if you've stuck this far through our nonsense.
I wouldn't have.
But Dan, do you want to tell people what you were talking about before we started recording? Where when it came to this match, Dan, I think lightning is going to strike twice. You are not going to own Haaland, is that correct?
It's a possibility. Basically, Haaland's not been getting goals like he has been last season. Is that fair?
Correct.
Even at this stage last year, Man City look a little bit weathered in midfield without Gundogan. Bernardo Silva's not really been playing. Obviously, Grealish has just come back from injury. De Bruyne, for example, like loads of little things going on. Alvarez, I think, is eating some of Haaland's goals. Last year, this fixture, it was 1-1 because it was the away fixture. It wasn't the 7-0. It was City are playing away. And Haaland was, one for a better word, shit. Sorry, I spelled anonymous wrong there. He had one shot. It was a sitter, and he dragged it wide.
He's been doing that a lot lately. The amount of chances that he's had.
I think Leipzig are a good team at home. I do think they're a good team at home. I think City don't travel away well. And because it's Wednesday, he's the most obvious captaincy shout on a Wednesday, and that's what's annoying. But I think this is the worst fixture for the limitless chip. City playing away to the best team in their group on a Wednesday, and it's not an early kickoff or anything like that, because it takes away. You don't really want any of their defenders. You don't want any of their midfielders. And every single person watching this will own Haaland out of fear and nothing more. And I just think, can I capitalize on that? Other fixtures on the Tuesday where I go, you know what? I think that's right. I'll score. The problem is with it being a limitless chip, points per million really don't matter. And Haaland is the best striker in the world. If Mbappe is fit, I'd rather have Mbappe. Even though I'm going to that game, I'd rather have Mbappe and jinx him. than have Haaland versus Leipzig. I'm not saying I'm not going to have him. I need to build up my team. I don't even know what chip I'm playing yet. Because after talking about this, I'm thinking, yes, this limitless is looking good, but there is definitely case for a wild card, 100%. And in that case, then yes, you do stick to your City guns. You maybe take out, if you've got Foden or whatever, you probably take him out. But you can comfortably go with a Haaland and maybe in a Kanji. I mean, Kanji was a nightmare anyway. That's the
He
thing
didn't
with City.
start, yeah.
Like, I've got no idea who's starting for them at the back anyway, other than Diaz, who's the most expensive one. So it's an issue, it's a problem, and I'm not saying I'm not going to have him. I'm 50-50, and I think he could go off again, but I think everything I've just said there isn't me being crazy. I think they're all very reasonable things to say out loud, but it is Haaland, and yeah, just going over kicking once. Leipzig, though, like, I think this is a fixture to avoid for them. Like Heinrichs and Raum will be coming into my team for 3 and 4. I probably have them both. I just think they're both super attacking, dead cheap, and I think I've learned a little bit about some teams. That's the thing about a wild card. I like having 2 weeks to learn how they're going to play all that. The Leipzig players really suit the match day 3 wild card post now, but I mean you can just bring them in if you want. So I'm gonna have to actually do a lot of planning, I think, to try and figure this out. Probably on my lunch on Thursday, I think, is when I'm gonna really dive in and then have the weekend to decide about what chip I want to use. I messed it up because honestly I was thinking of maybe trying to do what you guys did with not playing a chip for match day 2 and then having your team set you up for 1 and 2. But instead of, I think I've had my team set me for 1 and 3. Is what it is. What do you think about this?
No, I think Alvarez is in the better form.
Not having him on limitless with Haaland, no idea.
No.
No chance.
And I think it's just interesting that we have said that potentially we're going to go without Bellingham, second most owned player, and Haaland. Actually, other way around.
No, they're both the joint most owned player, aren't they?
Yeah, 70-something percent.
77.
So I think it's crazy that we've potentially said on limitless don't have them.
So that we get them.
Yeah. But yeah, the best captaincy shouts are from like especially the highest ceilings are from Man City for sure. We just don't know who is going to start. So early leaks, but it's the last matches. It's a struggle. Plus Man City. I mean the Pep's already said that he's heavily rotating against Newcastle for the cup.
Yeah.
So at the time of recording, Man City are unfortunately still in the EFL Cup. They won't be tomorrow by the time it releases. Yes. But they have Arsenal the match after Leipzig.
And the thing is, the one grace for
is that Rodri lost his mind.
Rodri will play against Leipzig, obviously. Well, you know what? This is it. Remember when Kyle Walker lost his head against Leipzig, got sent off, and he was banished? Like 6 months he didn't see Kyle Walker. And it was like pure punishment. It was like, you have nearly cost us everything. Because John Stones was playing at right back for a bit.
Rodri is the best defensive midfielder in the...
Better than Sean Longstaff?
Second best, sorry.
That's
I was meant in this group.
Oh, sorry, yes. Yeah, he likely is the best holding midfielder in the world. But is Kyle Walker not the best right back in the world?
At the time, I wouldn't have said so.
That's fair. But he was still mint. He's still probably the best right back in the league. Yeah. Does he do the same? Does Pep lose his mind and do the same? Start playing Calvin Phillips a bit more? Because Calvin Phillips is going to start getting more minutes.
I find the biggest struggle with Man City in the Champions League, which is making me want to just try and get away from them altogether, is after Leipzig, they've got Arsenal. After Young Boys, they've got Man United. After Young Boys again, they've got Chelsea, Liverpool. After Leipzig, Tottenham. And then after that, it's December fixtures.
Yeah.
So they've got big fixtures after every single Champions League match, rotation central.
Yeah. To be fair, the two safest are probably...
It's probably like
is
Rico
Haaland.
Lewis.
Maybe. We said that you'd get a game in the last podcast, but like, he's going to play 100%. Of course he is. I don't know what side. We said we didn't know what side. It's going to be left or right, but we don't know what side. We maybe didn't say 100. Maybe said like 80. But still. I think Haaland's probably the safest because he does play every game. He doesn't have to run a lot. They can take him off if they're winning. And they don't have anyone to play up front instead of him other than Alvarez, who has to play in the 10 with whoever else is going to play there because they play two of them. So it's Haaland and Rico Lewis.
Do you think Edison is potentially a limitless option? I think Leipzig score personally.
I agree. I think Leipzig scored. Do you know? I don't know what the previous score lines are between these two in Leipzig. But I know that generally Leipzig do score against City. I know they got battered in one game. It's one game.
In terms of, I think the only questions that we have left to answer is the Wednesday goalkeeper. Oblak, Menyan, Donnarumma, Ter Stegen.
Horrible. They are horrible.
Is Oblak the best option?
I think Ter Stegen. I think Ter Stegen's the best option.
Best captain from this day?
Another hideous question. Probably, unfortunately, it maybe is Haaland. I think if Mbappe is fit, it's Mbappe. I think other than that, honestly, genuinely, I think you could go for like Griezmann.
And then the final question is, how many tears are you going to shed when Newcastle win their first Champions League match?
Every tear that I've got out of every orifice.
It's like a sponge.
It's just coming out of everywhere, Aaron. I'll be even in the odds on that on our left-hand side with Tamburn.
You're like one of the sprinklers on the.
I'm in the standard area actually, so in the Gallagher East stand. So it'll either be Kieran Trippier or Anthony Gordon / Jacob Murphy, depending on who's playing on what side. That's getting mobbed at the end of the game when there's a definite pitch invasion.
Who would you be the most happy for to score the first Newcastle goal?
Ooh, Jacob Murphy, I think.
I want it to be Newcastle, so Dan Burn.
It's got to be Longstaff Murphy. Longstaff Murphy, Dan Burn. Are there any other? Oh, no, you know who actually? If I could pick one player to score the first goal and be the winner or whatever, Elliot Anderson.
That's a shout.
He'd be the one that, because I think he's brilliant. He was so good against Sheffield United as well. I mean, everyone was. Tom Davies was our man of the match. He was awful.
Great assist.
I think, Elliot Anderson, if I could pick one, 100%.
I would say
Hakimi on goal.
No, I would actually say Trippier.
Would you?
First signing, like
the new era.
Free kick, top corner. Be like England's semi-final all over.
No, we're going to beat 2-1 off Croatia, I mean.
Yeah.
No, thank you. On that very dreary note, thank you so much for listening this far. I guarantee this wasn't actually any shorter than the first one.
5 minutes shorter.
Oh, well, we didn't lie. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, whether you liked it or not. You definitely didn't. Follow, subscribe, Gallagher Shots. They're actually half decent at what they do. We are on Twitter at UCL Fantasy Pod. and we will see you for the next set of group previews. Bye now.